I've been in all of the roles, so I know what it's like to be a third string. I know what it's like to be a second string. I know what it's like to be a starter, and it really does take everyone.
Welcome to Everybody Pulls the Tarp, the go-to podcast for high performers. I'm Andrew Moses, and each week I talk with Olympians, pro athletes, TV stars, Grammy winners, best-selling authors, CEOs, and other high performers to uncover their success secrets. Every conversation is jam-packed with inspiration and actionable ideas we all can apply to our own lives, personally and professionally. Get ready for a behind-the-scenes look at the techniques, processes, and mindsets powering the world's most successful people. Let's go. Hi, everyone, and welcome back to Everybody Pulls the Tarp. This week, I'm joined by U.S. Women's National Team and North Carolina Courage goalkeeper, Casey Murphy. Simply put, Casey is one of the best goalkeepers in the game of soccer. She played her college career at Rutgers University, where she broke almost every goalkeeper record at the school, in the Big Ten Conference, and the NCAA. Since then, her career with U.S. Women's National Team is also off to a great start. Casey is the fastest U.S. Women's National Team goalkeeper in history to reach 15 shutouts. And in 2024, Casey won a gold medal at the Paris Olympics. In our conversation, we explore Casey's career and many of the mindsets, techniques, and processes that have helped her become one of the best in the world at her craft. And the lessons that Casey shared apply far beyond soccer. You'll hear powerful ideas on how to overcome mistakes, reclaim your focus, and perform your best when it counts. I am already working on implementing many of the ideas that Casey shared into my own life, and I hope you take away as much from this one as I have. Oh, and one more thing. This podcast is presented solely for educational and entertainment purposes. It is not intended to be a substitute for the advice of a physician, psychotherapist, or other qualified professional. So, let's pull the tarp and get straight to Casey Murphy. Casey, I'm so glad that we're getting to sit down and have this conversation. Where I want to begin, first experience with soccer and first experience with the goalkeeper position. Take me all the way back. What do you remember about it most?
That's great. I actually grew up with soccer fields behind my house, ironically. And so we had the school fields, and every day my brother and I would go out, we would play in the back. I loved all sports. We loved all sports, but for some reason, soccer was just a sport that I just like if I was going to get punished by my parents, it would be like, okay, you can't go to soccer practice. Like that was the worst punishment for me. And I started playing at like age 5 and yeah, still going strong with it.
So what do you remember most at age 5 when you first kind of discovered the game, both through the fields behind your house and then in kind of more organized play at age 5? Like, what do you remember most that you enjoyed about it?
Well, I remember what I didn't enjoy, and that was losing. Like, I absolutely hated losing. I was one of those kids that I was probably miserable to be around because I was so competitive. But what I loved was, I think it was more so just with my, being with my teammates, and practice was fun. And I just enjoyed that challenge of getting better and seeing myself improve. And that gave me so much confidence. Like the quicker I could get feedback on something I needed to be better at and then apply it, my confidence would just go through the roof. So that was addicting to me.
Did that lack of enjoyment for losing, did that kind of translate into other aspects of your life as well? Or was it just soccer? Was it everything? Was it board games? Was it goofing around with friends? Was it other sports? Talk about that for a moment.
Absolutely. It's all areas, like you said, board games, simple, stupid little challenges. It's just I don't know. I think it's in my blood. But it honestly helped me get to where I'm at for sure, because I show up every day just wanting to compete. And I think that's a big piece of getting to that high level, is not taking your foot off the gas and just always wanting to win and leave it all out there.
Casey, I have talked to so many Olympians and professional athletes and other high performers from different industries. And sectors. But when it comes to like a position like goalkeeper, I'm always fascinated by these more like specialized positions, right? I've talked to NFL field goal kickers and NHL goaltenders, and I'm just curious, like, when did you discover the goalkeeper position? What was your first exposure to it? And like, what do you remember most about that specifically?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was like one of those players that played half on the field, half in the goal. And because I was a taller kid, I was thrown in there a lot. And I really just enjoyed it. Like I enjoyed kind of like having my own role on the team. I could use my hands. Like
Different shirt.
yeah, different shirt color. I didn't have to run so much. So like those initially were probably like the things going through my 10-year-old brain. But now I'm like, I can't imagine not being a goalkeeper. Like I love like the mental aspect of it, like the pressure of it, and just really just being like the last person to keep the ball in the net. So yeah, the goalkeeper union, especially at my club right now, the NC Courage is super strong. And I think, there's only like 2 or 3 other people on your team that really get what it is like to be a goalkeeper. And so to share that like special bond with your other goalkeepers on the team is something I also enjoy. No one really gets it unless like you're a goalkeeper. So that's also a piece of it that I really enjoy.
Years ago, when coaching wasn't as specialized either, even the coaches didn't understand the position as well. I mentioned talking to some NHL goaltenders, and I talked to New York Rangers legend Mike Richter, who played in the 90s for the Rangers. And he talked about way back then, like there wasn't as much specialized coaching for the goaltenders in hockey at the youth level, even in the college, even in the NHL. They didn't always have goaltender coaches traveling with the team. And you kind of had to like figure it out a little bit on your own. It was a small fraternity, he described, like you said there, of just a few people who really understood, what was going through your mind and what you were experiencing. So enjoying it and being good at it are two different things. I mean, enjoying it helps you have the intention and desire to cultivate a skill in something. But when did you realize that you might be a little better than the average person at this goalkeeper thing?
Yeah. I was like one of those kids that like did have a lot of big dreams and a lot of big goals. And that really helped me just like direct my focus and work towards something and like keep my focus on moving forward and how can I push the needle forward and how can I take lesser strengths of mine and make them some of the best parts of my game. And so I had that from a young age. And once I really got to like middle school, high school, my eyes were definitely set on being a professional and playing for the US women's national team. And I think just always having something like big to strive for kept me focused and my foot on the gas to not be complacent with where I'm at. And that's something that like I think is huge. Like to be able to have success is one thing, but to get to the top and stay at the top is a very hard thing. And I think that it's that constant like energy you bring, that competitiveness you bring, but ultimately that desire to want to keep growing and improving and being open to feedback and realizing you're not like a complete package and just constantly trying to like find ways to, what do I need to add to my game? What do I need to subtract from my game? Like, what is my game? And like, how can I reinvent myself to be better each season is something I really strive to do.
You've referenced that open-mindedness and like just strong desire to constantly improve, in different aspects of your, like in your life in general, as you alluded to earlier. Where do you think that comes from?
A lot of like work off the field on like the mental side of the game. I think that's where it comes from, is like that inner leadership, that inner like dialogue with yourself, to be able to be challenging yourself and intense with yourself, but also like in a place that's like not judgment. Like there's no like room for judgment in my life. I feel like, especially with myself, it's just like, okay, if I made a mistake, what can I learn from it? Move forward. It's like, okay, I did this well, but I didn't do this well. And so like, what can I learn and where can I move forward? Like, I just feel like I have this ability to be honest and critical with myself, but not like in a place where I like put myself down. It's more so actually how quickly can I bounce back and like see that as the challenge as opposed to staying in a place where I'm sad or I'm upset or my head's down. I always like bring it back to like, what do my teammates need from me? And my teammates need a confident, encouraging, vocal goalkeeper presence on the field. And even if I say let in an early goal, like I have to quickly ask myself like where I need to be right now for my teammates and what they need from me so I can get back to my best as quickly as possible for them.
That's a really interesting way of framing it, Casey. I mean, I think that's an idea as I sit here kind of digesting what you just said. I think that's an idea that we kind of all can apply to almost any aspect of our life because there's constantly people that are counting on us for different things, whether it's professionally or personally. And even if you're not, your best in one moment or you make a mistake or you falter or in your case, you let an early goal in, right? It almost doesn't matter in the present moment because in the present moment, it's all about being the best version of yourself. But you extend it to like, how can I be the best version of myself for those around me, for the people that are counting on me? And I think that, like, have you ever found that creates like an added layer of pressure, or is it a pressure that like you welcome, like you want to be there for everybody? Because I could see it almost working both ways depending on like the type of personality that somebody is, right? Like it's, oh my God, everybody's counting on me. I need to be the best version of myself. Or it could motivate you, or it could kind of challenge you and make it more overwhelming. Like talk about that for a moment.
Yeah, it's kind of how you frame it, right, in your head. So I kind of see like a big game or a really challenging opponent as an opportunity to be like, all right, like, what do you have for me? Like, what are you going to, like, we scouted you all week and you may actually do the exact opposite of what we thought you were going to do. Like, bring it on. Like, how are you going to challenge me? How am I going to have to adapt this game? Like, this is what I train for. I train for the unexpected. So please bring your best, challenge me. What do you got for me? And like when I like talk to myself like that, I'm like so much more excited for the big game as opposed to being like kind of shelled up and like nervous about what to expect. I'm like, actually, like 98% of things, 99% of things are unexpected or out of your control. So like, I'm just going to like embrace this challenge of not knowing what you're going to bring. And I'm going to, like, I know me, like, I want to rise to the occasion. I want to demand the best out of myself. So bring it, like, challenge me. I'm either going to win or learn and improve in the end. So
win or learn and improve. I love that mindset. I mean, you have risen to the challenge. I mean, obviously been outstanding for the throughout your career, but more recently for the North Carolina Courage, for the U.S. Women's National Team, 15 career shutouts, the fastest U.S. Women's National Team goalkeeper in history to 15 shutouts. Just a remarkable start to that aspect of your career, and you're rising to the moment. So I'm curious. I mean, you talked about in a moment like you let in an early goal, or things aren't going as you had planned, or maybe you don't feel 100%. What do you do in those moments, in addition to what you just described a few minutes ago, of kind of starting to reframe it a little bit, remind yourself that you need to be your best? Like, are there other things that you've taught yourself to process through in those moments?
yeah, I think it's the work beforehand, actually. So like training week leading up to a big game, like it's that prep. It's like knowing that I was intentional each day in practice and I worked on these things. And once I step onto the field, I'm ready. But also it's like having intentions before the game of like, for me, these are like the top 2 or 3 things that I'm going to bring to this game. And maybe these are the top 2 or 3 things that my coach said like the team needs to do. And so when a mistake happens or I let an early goal, I quickly reset to like, okay, these are the 2 or 3 things that I said I was going to do before the game. Like, how can I get to a place where I'm refocused on that right now? And like in soccer, it has to be like pretty quickly.
Yeah.
So maybe it's during like a water break or a corner kick for the opponent or for us on the other side of the field, or the ball's out of bounds. Like it's a quick like reset of like, okay, this was my focus for the game. Let me get back to here. Let me stop replaying that goal I just let in my head 1,000 times because that's not going to help me. And just remembering after the game is the time to go back and reflect and learn from the mistake. But during the game is the time to like get back to your best of like, okay, well, my best this game was I said I was going to be commanding presence and be super vocal. And, or the other thing was like, I was going to be dominant in my six and I'm going to come when anything that I can in the air. Like, okay, say those were my focuses. How quickly can I get back to those?
That's so important because, I mean, as I think about that, I mean, I fundamentally believe like the mind can really only focus on like a few things at a time. Like, I think there's even science behind this idea that like you can really only focus on 3 things at most, like in a presentation or in an article that you're reading or something. So the idea that you have
is that for men and women or just men?
I don't know. My wife says I'm not the best multitasker, so maybe it's less. Maybe women can focus on more things. I don't know.
I'm just joking. That's funny. Yeah, no, I believe it.
So again, like having 2 or 3 things to focus on in those moments is, I think, really, really powerful. How different are the 2 or 3 things that you're focused on, like from game to game or week to week? Like, is that something that really evolves a lot in your world?
That's a good question. Definitely repeats. Like there's definitely times where I'm like, my like inner dialogue needs to be really sharp. Like say I'm playing in a stadium with 50,000 people and I know my teammates aren't going to really be able to hear me. For me, that's an instant intention before the game to make sure like I'm communicating in my head at least and staying focused and, you know, not letting my mind wander. But yeah, I would say quite a bit. They're repeats, but depending on the week or the opponent or where we're at in the season, they definitely vary.
All right, everyone. We'll get back to the conversation momentarily. But first, I want to tell you about my free weekly email newsletter, Tarp Pullers. Each week, I share an uplifting and inspirational tarp pulling story that is sure to brighten your day. And I also highlight some of the most powerful ideas I've learned on my journey talking to 200 and counting of the world's top performers. The newsletter is short, concise, and a reader recently told me this. She said it makes her day every time it hits her inbox. Go to everybodypullsthetarp.com/newsletter to sign up today. So I'm curious, Casey, we've been talking a lot about like different aspects of your mindset, your preparation. I'm also curious to dig into kind of the unique role that you're sometimes in, you know, especially in the 2024 Paris Games where you're the backup goalkeeper. Mm-hmm. And I'm curious, I mean, does the preparation and does the approach you take from a mindset perspective like differ when you know you're the starting goalkeeper versus the backup goalkeeper? And like, I want to dig into that a little bit because that just seems so fascinating to me in terms of readiness and preparedness and making sure you're in the right mindset. Talk about that for a moment.
Yeah, no, that's a great question too. I trained to be the number one, right? I trained for the number one spot. I trained to be the starter. I've been training to be the starter. And so prep for the Olympics was the same. Obviously, Alyssa was the starter and she did absolutely amazing and smashed it. But I had to be ready at any moment in case I needed to go in for whatever reason. And so that's why my training at club, that's why my training when I get in with the national team is always for that number one spot. And so if I'm called upon, that I'm ready and I'm at my best for the team.
This podcast is called Everybody Pulls the Tarp, and it's all based upon this idea that we're kind of like all in this together. Like it takes everybody on a roster to contribute, and like you've got to be willing to do the little things, and you lead by example, and you never say that's not my job. And I think the role that you were in Paris is just it's a role that like I think people forget like how critical the role is and how important it is for you to be ready, and in many instances how hard it might be for you to be ready, because for whatever reason, if Alyssa had to leave one of those games, like the gold medal literally could be hanging in the balance and the last one back there, right? I mean, it could come down to a couple minutes of play or a few seconds of play that like could literally make all the difference between a gold medal or something otherwise. I mean, people forget how important it is for you to be ready and how critical it is to be ready. And it's something I think a lot of people just take for granted in a situation like that. Now, does it like, in terms of the idea of like getting the adrenaline going, how do you navigate that in a situation like that where you're used to being a starter, you train to be the starter, and then you kind of have some I don't want to say downtime, but like you're not in the game action second to second, minute to minute. And then you have to be ready at a moment's notice.
Yeah. Well, that my prep work for when I'm starting and when I'm not starting is exactly the same. I still have my intentions going into the game, and I still have an idea of what the team's objectives are, because obviously I'm still in all the meetings. And so we're prepared whether we're starting or we're not. And then I'm doing the prep work myself for whether I'm starting or not. So say I go in for the last few minutes of game, not likely, but anything could happen. I would be ready to rock, because one, it would be my first Olympics and the adrenaline's there. Like
Yeah.
I'm amped up already on the sideline. And two, because it's just my job. It's my role for the Olympics was the backup, but if it became the starter, roles change and I'd be ready to go. I understand what it takes to be number one, and I would get to that place very quickly.
Are there things that I remember a conversation a few years ago with Ali Krieger where Ali was talking about kind of the later stages of her national team career and how, she had been a starter and she was no longer a starter and she was on that phase of her career. And she would just constantly challenge herself to find ways to help regardless of what the role was. I mean, I think that's exactly how she put it. She's like, I would just find ways to help regardless of what my role was, because there's so many other ways you can help out. You can point something out to a teammate that maybe that you see that they don't. You can just work and train really hard to make sure that they're getting your best. Like, do you think about that, like in terms of the relationship with Alyssa in that sense, or other goalkeepers with like, how do you think about that? Just like always finding a way to contribute.
Yeah, for sure. One thing I've realized about roles is like a lot of times they're out of your control, like in the sense of like the coach picks who they want on the field. Okay, great. What I can control is how I show up every single day and my character and my attitude and my effort. And those are all things that I can control. So each day I'm making sure that my attitude's there, my effort's there. Like I'm not wasting one single practice, especially at like preparing for an Olympics or at an Olympics, or honestly any time. But yeah, at the end of the day, whether it's with the national team, a club team, a youth team, like whatever it is, like the coach is picking your role. You have to just continue to focus on what you can control. And that's how you show up. And that's how you make your teammates better. And that's how you're constantly working on your game, not dwelling on the fact that you're not in a role you desired. Of course, you can feel that way, but it's your decision how long you stay feeling that way and how quickly you can get back to really something that's going to make a difference.
Shifting back now from that kind of like backup sideline role to now in game. Another thing I find fascinating about goalkeepers, or in the NHL goaltenders, or in the NFL, you've got the field goal kickers and the punters, like a lot of the specialists, is that in your world, right? Like the action, you may be like involved in the action for 1, 2, 3%. To somebody who's just watching, like who doesn't know a ton about soccer, right? They just think, hey, the goalkeeper's involved a little bit here and there. And the rest of it, you're trying to like keep that energy, keep that adrenaline, keep that focus. Is that something that you need to kind of like develop over time? Like the focus for an entire game when the action might be downfield for most of it, or a large portion of it, or your defense might be really strong that day and keeping people out of your way. Like, what about that? Is that something that you've had to develop? Is that a challenge? Is that, what can people learn from you in terms of that?
Yeah. Energy and focus are two things I like really try and work on. So I feel like, especially right now, I'm in this phase of like checking where my energy's at. And I'm like, okay, like where's my energy at right now? Where does it need to be? Like how quickly, what's one thing that can get me there right now? And that's because energy is huge. Like if I come into practice and like I'm buzzing around and like I have good energy's high, like that rubs off on my teammates.
Sure does.
And so I feel like that's one way that I can lead on a team. Like I'm not necessarily like great with like these big group inspirational speeches, but like my energy is one thing that I'm like, okay, I know like I can come into the locker room, I can bring a smile, I can have conversations with anyone one-on-one. Like those are some of my strengths. So that's one thing I've been really focusing on. And the other thing is focus. Like, where can I direct my focus? I've learned about myself that I think I can be a mind reader, and I'm not a mind reader. So like I'm like, oh, the coach just saw this. Like, what are they thinking right now? Like, oh, that wasn't my best moment. One thing I'm working on is like not trying to get in the minds of my coach and like
Interesting.
think I know what they're saying or thinking about me, because I don't. So I had to have that reality check with myself that I'm not a mind reader.
So is that like just trusting the others around you that they're going to be transparent and they're going to tell you what you need to hear and not kind of making, for lack of a better term, like making up these stories to tell yourself in the moment? Like, is that like, how do you get there in
Yeah.
anything, like whether it's soccer or outside of sport?
It's really important to have like a trusted coach, like someone that knows what they're talking about, can give you like proper feedback. So like knowing who your trusted coaches are is important. But I also think like you're going to get feedback, and then you're also going to have things that you want to work on. And I think it's important to still have the things that you're continuing to work on, even if you have a coach that's like not giving you so much in return as far as like, this is what you should work on. Like, you still have to have that ability to be like, no, this is where I want to push my game forward. And so you're walking into practice with things that you also want to work on, as opposed to just like putting it all on the coach and saying like, oh, well, that coach didn't tell me I need to work on anything, so like I'm good. Like, no, that's like not the case at all, actually. Like, you need to bring stuff to practice. You're not just like a passive participant. Like, you have to be active and
Great point. Yeah.
like who you are and what you want to be. And you actually have to be in the driver's seat, not the coach. So I think that's a big thing that I've also been focused on, is like, what am I bringing to practice? Like, I don't know, like I feel like you're one of those people that grew up in a family, like you go to like your neighbor's house, you go to grandma's house, and like you always bring something. Like, well, same thing with practice. Like, what are you bringing to practice every single day that like is non-negotiable? Whether practice was times were changed 10 times, or maybe it's international break and only like 10 people are at practice, or whatever the case may be, regardless of the circumstances, like you're always showing up with these one or two things. So those are
What are
definitely
you bringing?
focuses.
That's just a
Yeah.
powerful question to ask ourselves. Like in every situation, like what are
Yeah.
you bringing? And I think a lot of
Mm-hmm.
this ties back to, I mean, just to kind of like start bringing some of this all together, right? Like you said earlier, like what do my teammates need from me most right now?
Mm-hmm.
It's almost like a different way of phrasing like that question. Like, what am I bringing?
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes I'm bringing something, like there's a physical skill I'm bringing, or there's a kind of an emotional elevation you're bringing,
Mm-hmm.
or a mindset you're bringing. It's a really, really fascinating question to ask yourself. Like, what are you bringing, or what do I
Mm-hmm.
need to bring? Okay, so now, like for the layman, for somebody who's not a soccer fan, for somebody who watches soccer once in a while, like what are some of the? I love like dissecting some of the little things that are going on in a craft that people just don't have necessarily an appreciation for. Like, what are some of the little things that you're doing during a game that maybe people don't have an appreciation for? The little things that are making a big difference.
Yeah. If you see me go take a sip of my water, I'm probably resetting real quick. Like we talked about
Resetting mindset.
mindset, like quick sip of water, reset
Casey's not
to my
dehydrated. She's
best.
just resetting.
Yeah. I used to, so this is funny. Like I used to like restrap my gloves, but now the gloves don't have straps. So I had to like
Interesting.
pivot. And so now it's like a sip of my water. That's definitely one thing I do. I like eye contact. Like, it's a huge game. It's a final. The fans are going crazy. Like, I like to like make eye contact with my teammate and just be like, we got this. Like, stay in it. Like, we're going to get a goal, or we're going to keep this lead. Like, that's a big thing for me. And then, yeah, like halftime's a big like moment for me to just like take a breath, reset, new half. This half's in the past. Got 45 minutes left to play. Like, and wherever I'm at, like get to where I need to be.
When you kind of reflect on your entire career thus far, there's so many great years still ahead, so many goals to still accomplish. What would you say, like when you have to think back, what would you say has like been the biggest challenge that you've had to overcome thus far? Not that you're done overcoming challenges, but the biggest challenge that you've had to overcome thus far.
I've definitely had quite a few punches in the stomach over the years, but I would say There's so many things that I'm like, where I think like, I want this now. I know I can like do this now. Like, just give me this opportunity. But it's really just like having that awareness that there's going to be times where you get yeses, there's going to be times where you get nos. And it's just like staying steady within yourself and having that patience, but like that's still that intensity to still get after it every single day, even when you're not where you want to be yet and you think you should be. Just like continuing to focus on the bigger picture. And the bigger picture for me is like 2027. Like there's another World Cup and Olympics in a few years. And so for me, it's trying to see like the day to day and how it leads to the big picture and not just like getting caught in the day to day, but like, yeah, just getting the most out of what I'm doing and like keeping perspective on where I'm going despite all of the challenges I faced.
That's so beautifully said, Casey. I mean, that really is something I think that in many ways, a lot of us wrestle with just around different things. That finding that balance between being patient and intense,
Mm-hmm.
having the goal, having the intention, but also giving yourself and that giving yourself the space
Mm-hmm.
to let it happen. That balancing that difference, I think the idea of letting something happen versus making something happen, right? Like when you're hard charging and you're motivated and you're goal oriented, it's very hard to be patient. I know
Mm-hmm.
patience is not something that I've always considered a great skill of mine. I just have this intensity, always keep moving forward. But that's just such an important idea. I know I'll be thinking about for a long time to come. So it was so beautifully said.
Mm-hmm.
I'm curious as you think about like when there's been times in the past when you haven't been as balanced, when you swung more to that impatient and frustrated and, for lack of a better term, negative side. How long does it take you to get back, and how do you get back to the balance?
Like when I was earlier on in my professional career, like that was a big struggle for me, is like letting that frustration, letting that anger, letting that disappointment linger on for too long. And where I'm at now is, I think I'm at a place now where it's like I get the choice of how long I stay there. And I choose whether I let this go on a day, 2 days, a week. And ultimately, the only person I'm slowing down is myself. And so the quicker I can catch myself, and how I catch myself is just like checking in with where I'm at. Like, what am I feeling right now? Is what I'm feeling right now going to help me keep moving forward? Obviously, it's human nature to feel frustrated and to feel disappointed or angry, whatever. And it's fine to feel all of those things. Like, it's totally fine. It's just recognizing you have a choice for when you're ready to like move past that and get back to your best. And what I've learned about like great leaders and great athletes is they go back to their best quickly. So that motivates me to want to do the same.
Yeah, I find that as humans, we're rarely at our best. We're rarely like at our worst. It's really that middle. Like, how do you make the most of kind of just every single day when you're somewhere between your best and your worst? Like that, maximizing your opportunity in those moments, I think, can be a huge driver of our success. Casey, the question I love to ask people is 25 years from now, there's a newspaper story about Casey Murphy and your career. What do you want the headline to be?
I don't know. That's so tough because I would just want it to be about my team, honestly. Like, not just me. Like, I would want it to be about my team and my coaches, because like it takes everyone. Like, I've been in all of the roles, so I know what it's like to be a third string. I know what it's like to be a second string. I know what it's like to be a starter, and it really does take everyone. We better be winning, whatever the headline is. We better have won something. I'll tell you that. But I don't know. I don't know. I guess we'll see in 20 years.
Casey, this has been so much fun. I've learned so much from you. I've really, really enjoyed this conversation. I've learned so much, and I will be thinking about so many of the ideas that you shared for so long to come. I know that many of the listeners will be as well. There is no question, Casey, you are a certified tarp puller. Lead by example. You never say that's not my job. You contribute in all the unexpected ways, do whatever you have to do to get the job done for the team, and obviously achieve some of your own success along the way. Thank you for spending some time with me. Forever a part of the Everybody Pulls the Tarp family. Thank you so much, Casey.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for joining me this week. Be sure to subscribe in your favorite podcast app so you can catch all of our upcoming episodes. And if you're like me and want a world full of tarp pullers, then leave a review to help others find us. You can also follow me on Instagram at AndrewMoses123 and sign up for my email newsletter at everybodypullsthetarp.com/newsletter. I'll share tips and insights to help you achieve maximum success and happiness. Until next time, keep pulling the tarp.